a little bowl of soup and sitting there a minute. I said, Faye, I've been in this work so long that it's, I can see right straight through most everything. It'd be so easy for me to tell Amy what to do, to tell Nikki what to do, to tell Mark what to do. I could tell you exactly what to do. But you'd get mad at me. You would get mad at me if I told you what to do. Oh, you say, no, I wouldn't, Brother Vane. But you would, if I was honest with you and frank with you as I could be. You're not ready for it. You're just not ready for it. Because the structure is not all yet gathered together. If I could make myself clear, I would, but I begin to see more and more as I get older, and I'll die one of these days, and who knows when. But when I die, they're going to bury a lot of things over there in the Evergreen Cemetery. All the things. I'm just using Roxanne because I've known her 100 years. But she would have no problem, she'll tell you this, she would have no problem coming to me and pouring out her heart and tell me everything about her life, because she knows I would never break her confidence. Isn't that right, Roxanne?
Yes, sir.
Now, if you're going to be a leader, that's what you got to do. You can't be a tattletale. You got to just take it in and forget about it as far as telling another story. We're talking about building a structure. And the whole sum and substance of this class is to help you to build a structure under your life. Maybe you got it when you were young. Maybe you didn't. Maybe your mother and dad, but particularly your mother. Your mother will structure you more than your dad, normally. I got a lot of things from my dad, but I've always been afraid of stealing. I never wanted to get caught, one thing, but I didn't want to be embarrassed. But my mother and dad made me understand that other people's property was their property, and keep your hands off. Keep your nose out of other people's business. Pay your bills. Surrender your life to Christ. What I'm talking to you about this now, I'm getting to where I want to go and trying to go around the Robin Hood barn to get there. I was really deeply impressed with the conversation that I had with my daughter, Mary. Early Sunday morning, she called me. It was Sunday night after church where she was. But I said to Mary, I said, amongst all these people, they're natives, you understand. There's hardly any structure at all under their lives. They grow up in a different atmosphere of survival of the fittest sort of thing. And she said, I asked her if any of them, they've been there 12, 14 years. I said, do you have anybody at all that you could say is consecrated to the Lord? And she said, Dad, these people are born and conceived, and in their lives they live with deceit. They're deceitful is inbred right in them from the very beginning of their life. That is, they don't ever tell the truth, and you'll never get the truth out of them. They'll never confess anything. They will not get down to the nitty-gritty, down where the tire meets the road, say, I wrong, wicked, ungodly, and I want God to forgive me. They get saved, and they've had a lot of conversions. But to get that deceit out of there is almost like trying to change their color from black to white. You understand that? You say, well, we're white people. Now, wait a minute. The heart is deceitful above all things and desperately wicked. You'd have to confess that there's deceit down in your heart. You don't always shoot straight. But you understand what I'm talking about. I'm more interested in these 10, 12, 13 people that come to this class of getting to the place of consecration by being absolutely honest with God. Could you do that? Somewhere, sometime, would you ask God, Lord, am I really straight with you? David said, search me, O God, and see if there be any wicked way in me, and lead me in the way everlasting. Where'd you get that? You're not going anywhere until you get straight, until you get perfectly honest with God. You flim-flam and wind-jam, color it all up, reconstruct it. Something happened, it didn't happen that way, it happened this way, because you didn't like the way it happened, you reconstruct it. You saw something happen, but you reconstructed it and you told it just like you wanted to tell it. That's flim-flam and wind-jam. But if you could be perfectly honest, there's no telling. It's like building a house. You're building a marriage. You have to build it on honesty and trust. I can trust you. Amy, you tell me you love me, so I'm going to believe you with all my heart. Don't you ever be untrue to me. Don't you ever break my trust. Because if you ever break my trust, it'll be gone forever. Can I really trust you to love me? I'm the only one that you love, and in the same sense of the word, that as lovers and as husband and wife, I've got to have that assurance in my heart. I can't flim-flam, I can't wind-jam, I can't go about my work and not trust you. Can you understand that? Amen. That's the way you build a marriage and a life together. And if you can't have that, that's the way it is with Christianity. You say, Lord, I love you. Now look at me, Lord. Look at me. Look at my heart. I'm honest with you, God. I can remember the day that I got down on my face before God and ripped up by the roots every wicked, ungodly thing that I'd ever done that I could remember, and confessed it afresh to God. And when I got empty of all of the corruption that was in my life, then Brother Bill, he filled me with the Holy Spirit. But to get perfectly honest with God, it's a difficult thing. Can you understand that, Brother Bob? Yes, sir. We want to reserve some wind-jam and flim-flam. You forgive me for preaching, but I have my mind set. If I could get out of this class a half a dozen of you at least to make consecration, it'd be well worth everything in my time that I spent. The next verse kind of ties in with this. There is a way that seemeth right unto man, but the end thereof is the way of death. I want to tell you this, and I've said it lots of times in lots of ways, but there is a way that seemeth right unto man, but the end thereof is the way of death. a way that seemeth right, but it's not right. And everything in this world, Brother Paul, isn't just like it appears to be. There are things that look real bad, but they're good. And there are things, John, that look good that are bad. I have a situation in the church this week. I'll not tell you what it is, but it's bad. It's bad. But I can't say a thing about it. Because if I said something about it, there are 3 or 4 families that would be all upset, but it's bad. And to you, so I don't see anything wrong with it at all. That's because you cannot conceive in your mind the end results of this thing. But I've watched things like this go on for 54 years, and I know they come down here in a bad situation, but I can't say anything about it. Well, you say, you're not much of a preacher. Well, you go ahead and hot shot, you try it. I've stirred up enough bad nest and bad trouble, stinks over the years trying to meddle in people's decisions that they make. But I'm trying to tell you is some things look good, but they're not good. Some things look bad, and they're not as bad as you think they are. And there are some things that look easy, but they're hard. And then there are some things that look hard, but they're really easy. I don't know if that makes any sense to you. There are some people, Donna, that appear to be mean, but they're really nice people. And then there are some people that are really act nice to you, but they're really mean. Can you understand that? I can't understand all I know about it. But I do know that there are all sorts of situations. There are people who really are intelligent people, but they act so dumb. And then there are some people who act dumb and they're really intelligent. Can you understand that? I'm trying to tell you that everything isn't just like it appears to be. There are people that, Bob, it might appear that they hate you, but they really love you. And there are people that look just like they love you, but they really hate you. Do you understand what I'm talking about, Amy? Everything isn't just like, and most everything isn't like it looks like it is. Some people look like they're trying to help you, but really they're trying to hinder you. And there are other people that look like they're trying to hinder you and they're trying to help you. So you have to pray for discernment. There are some people that might look to be very holy, but you really don't know is that they're hollow. There's nothing to them. And there are other people that maybe look hollow, but they're really holy. I'm going away around Robin's barn here. I know people who are well, but they look like they're sick. And I know other people that look sick, but they're really well. It's like that woman that died. She kept trying to tell people she was sick. Nobody paid attention to her. So she had an epitaph put on her tombstone, I told you that I was sick. But people wouldn't believe her. And there are people really that look poor, but they're really wealthy. And there are other people who are really wealthy, and they're poor. I mean by they look poor. I remember when we first built buildings, I went out and borrowed some money. I don't know how much I borrowed now, $5,000 maybe this years ago, from a fellow. He lived in a tar paper shack, but he had lots of money, hundreds of thousands of dollars in the bank. But he dressed poorly and lived poorly. That's probably why he had the money, I suppose. He didn't spend it, he kept it for himself. So it isn't, everything isn't just like it appears to be. There are some people look happy, but they're really sad. Some people put on a big front all the time. Some people look sad, but they're really happy. That there are some people that really are insane, but they look like they're mentally capable of handling anything. But there are other people that just vice versa, they're really crazy. They look intelligent, but they're crazy. Some look crazy, but they're intelligent, like Bob. I'm kidding. Just kidding.
No, that's the truth.
Yeah. Well, you know, there are people who appear to be educated, but they're really illiterate and ignorant. And there are other people that are ignorant, and they really look ignorant, but they really are well educated. And there are people who even look like they're saved, but they're lost. And some people look like they're saved, lost, but they're really saved. If I could just shut up now, I probably said enough, but the whole idea is there is a way that seemeth right. It looks like this person is for real, but they may not be that way at all. I've had a lot of experience. I've been hurt. I didn't let it get me down, but I have been hurt. I've been let down by some people that I really put a lot of trust in. It kind of makes a man out of you when you've been hurt and you can overcome that. When I was in high school, I fell in love with a girl. I loved her. I was really in love with her. She was a beautiful red-headed girl. I went with her 4 years. It was a dumb thing to do, but I did it. In high school, just kind of took away all the fun. You know, with the other kids, I had this one lover. Well, I thought she loved me. She told me 1,000 times that she did. But when it really come right down to it, she didn't really love me. And when I was going away to Bible college, she stepped out on me with some other friends and boys. Began playing in the beer garden. She's a beautiful piano player. Oh, just talented beyond, brilliant. High school, intelligent, high IQ, and A's all the way through school. I was a smart girl. And I thought she loved me, but she didn't. She hurt me. Boy, she hurt me bad. I don't know if you ever got hurt in a love affair or not. If you ever got stung one time real good, it's hard to trust anybody after you got stung real good like that. But I'm telling you is this. Everything is not just like it appears to be. So don't put your hopes too much on anything or on anybody, because you trust in the Lord with all of your heart, and you lean not on your own understanding, but in all your ways you acknowledge Him, and He will direct your path. It's you and God. That's what it all amounts to. There is a way that seemeth right. If I put my money into this business, it'll be good for me. I put somebody, the church lays aside a little money a week for retirement, and I put this money in some mutual funds with Putnam. If you've been reading the papers the last few days, Putnam people have been taking the money from the investors and putting it in their pocket. And I told my wife, it'll be all right, though. They're going to see to it that everything is taken care of, I'm sure. But this fella said this company is the oldest, most trustworthy company. You can put any kind of trust in them. But you see, things aren't always like they appear to be. Did you get that message, Mark? Sir. You're a young man, but you've already seen some things like that, haven't you? I remember the first time I got hurt down, I was in Bible college, and I was working in a store, something like Myers they sold everything in there, big groceries and all sorts of merchandise. And I was a cashier, working my way through college. And another guy, the next cashier, him and I got to be good friends. He didn't go to the same church I did, but he was a Baptist boy. He lived in Dallas, drove back and forth to work. And come New Year's Eve, they passed around the bottle at this store. Of course, I didn't take any because I never have got involved in it and didn't want to get involved in it. I was a Christian. I'm a seminary student. I wouldn't have cared about it anyway. I don't care what, I didn't want to do. But this guy got drunk. This Christian fellow that I had got to be good friends with got drunk. Really, I guess God was trying to teach me something way back then when I was just a 19-year-old kid, that you cannot really put your confidence in hardly anybody, because things are not always like they seem to be. I spent a lot of time tonight talking about this, but I think it's a great lesson for all of us. Let me just tell you something. You're smart people, but let's just say, let's go down to Cedar Street. Then let's take a left on Cedar and go down to Jolly Plaza. Well, there's stores, different stores there. And there's one of them says Christian Bookstore. Okay, so, wow, wonderful. It's a Christian bookstore. So I can go down here and I could buy books that are Christian.
Yeah, right.
But you would have to take your pastor along with you to buy a book in that place, because they'll sell you something that you should not buy. They wouldn't sell you a King James Bible.
That's right. Right.
And they'd sell you some other books that aren't from the King James too. And they're from writers that are liberals and new evangelicals and the Lord only knows, junk.
Yeah.
And I said to the lady that ran the store, that they sold it. It's another people own it now, but I said to the lady one day, she goes to South Baptist. She's a Christian lady. I said, you know, to be honest with you, and I like to have you be honest with me. She said, well, go ahead. I said, you could take everything that's good in this store and put it on one wall of this store. She said, I know it.
Right.
She knew it. But people want this stuff. Stuff that isn't worth 10 cents. But they want it. It's deceitful. And just because it's a Christian, and just because a fellow maybe have his collar turned around, and he calls himself Monsignor or Father Gabriel or whatever else might be, that doesn't mean anything. A church could have a steeple so high that it would tickle the angels' feet. But it does not mean that that church will get you to heaven.
Amen.
You see, you can't trust them. You can't. And a man may have an REV in front of his name, but that does not mean that he's an honest, God-bonified, born-again, Spirit-filled, godly man of God. How are you going to discern all of this, class? How are you going to discern? There is a way that seemeth right, but the way thereof is the ways of death. And this guy may have all of the answers. You talk to a Jehovah's Witness, he has all the answers. They've been trained with all the answers, but they're the wrong answers.
Amen.
And they know how to train themselves. They know how to talk to you and convince you. And if they can't convince you, Brother Josh, they'll confuse you until you don't know which way is right. So I'm just saying to you, class, I'm talking not as a Sunday school class, but as a pastor to people who are interested in the Lord's Word. You can get very, very bitter and very discouraged and very disgruntled if you're not careful about watching what you're doing and asking God for leadership. I fast I fast once a week, at least. When I fast, I ask God for three things. I'm fasting that I could have the spirit and power of God on my life. Secondly, that I could have discernment to know right from wrong. And thirdly, that I might have the joy of the Lord and the love of God in my heart for people around, rather than getting bitter and cantankerous. I want to be sweet and kind and thoughtful and considerate. That's what I pray, because I know that I could make a wrong move, and I could very well throw myself into something and get involved that would take my strength and my energy and waste it, because I'm going down. It may look good, and it may not be all bad, but it's not good enough for God. It's not my best. You understand what I'm talking about? I don't think I made much headway there, but at least I tried my best to steer you in those paths. Number 13, even in laughter. Even in laughter, the heart is sorrowful, and the end of mirth is heaviness. Talking about people who are laughing and smiling on the outside, but are inside full of sorrow and heaviness. Some time back, I can't remember all the details, but this circus clown who made everybody laugh ended up at the psychiatrist. He could not bring any joy to his own heart. He was just funny on the outside, but crying on the inside. Some people got an idea that life is a barrel of fun, and that it's games, fun and games. Everything's got to be fun and games. You've been around those people, and it's one joke right after another joke, and it's life is a blast, you know. You're the clown of the class. You got to have everybody laughing at you. But it's don't get me wrong. It's good to laugh. The Bible said it's better than medicine to be able to have a little humor. But it's also wrong, of course, to be deceitful about it. I don't want to be a stick in the mud. I don't want to hang around people that are a stick in the mud. But this verse describes someone who is hiding the truth. He's a fake, he's a fraud. He's something on the outside, but he's not just exactly like that on the inside. He'd like to make you believe that everything is all right when, looks like he's having a great time. I'd like to be like George, boy. He just has a wonderful time, and I'm full of misery and woe, but you don't really know George. If you knew George, you might know that he is just putting on around. You've been around people like that, I'm sure that you have, when they're miserable. They like to make you laugh. It's sort of a cover-up for down inside their heart. You can fool some people, but you're never really going to fool God. You don't fool yourself either. As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. He may be laughing on the outside, but crying on the inside. This class really is an unusual class. Sometimes it's a little better than other nights. Some nights it's easier for me to express myself than at other times. But I wish I could just lift the lid and let you look in and see people like I see people. I see some people I feel really have potentiality. I've had people in this church. I wish I could just call their name, because a lot of you have been in the church for quite a while, you would know exactly who I'm talking about. And this guy has got all there is that I would ever want to have. He's magnanimous, he's gregarious, people are drawn to him, and but try to get that guy to teach a Sunday school class. He won't do it. He's got the ability to do all sorts of things, but he won't do it. Can't get him to do it. So you say, well, I need a teacher for a primary class, a boys class, 6-year-old class. I'd like to have somebody teach it. Who do you get? Somebody, but I'll do it. The person that can't do it. The person that really doesn't have the ability to do it. I mean, they're the kind of people that you get. What do you do? You have to work with the people that were willing to do it. But with a guy that really had this pizzazz, really could do it, but he won't. And that about half of the church, I tell you this is true. This is the truth. I shouldn't say this, but I'm going to tell the truth anyway. If you want something done in the church, count back about 10 pews. Everybody this side, towards the front, are the ones going to do it. The rest of them. I've had people come to this church for years. Years. And they take the first seat in the back. Sit right down there. And they never, I've had people come here, and I love them. I love these people. They're my precious friends. And some of them are done. I'm going to tell this because I don't think anybody would know who I'm talking about, but maybe Roxanne. Mrs. Virginia Powell, Richard Powell's wife. I doubt if she ever saw any of the buildings inside the buildings. I mean, you talk about the print shop, you talk about all the other things. All she ever saw was there in the back. She'd come in, a good lady. Occasionally she'd come to the altar, but that wasn't a lot. I'm not criticizing Virginia, I love her, but she never got involved. I mean, she always wore breeches, couldn't get them off. I loved her in spite of all of that. And I revere these people. They help me when I needed help. What I'm trying to say is, you can just about count, listen, about count the people. Go back about within 10 rows. Just about, those are the people that you got to work with. Look at them the next time. Don't hold it against them now. And don't go back and say, Brother Green told me that you're a backslider. And you understand what I'm talking about? That's not always the case. I think your mother sits in the back now, doesn't she? She's a good worker. So everything isn't just like it appears to be. Understand that? There are exceptions to the case, but most generally people who want to get involved, why do you sit down close to the front, Mark? So you can get all you can.
Amen. That's right.
You gotta get spit on once in a while.
Amen.
But I'm just saying, it's a whole, I can see things that nobody else sees. I can shake hands. Come over here, Bob, I want to stay in front of the camera. If we just stand around and shake hands with him, there's not much to that. But when he goes like this, I know that, boy, preacher, that was a great message this morning. I really appreciate that. Now see, just stand there now. When you say, I love that your hand. Wasn't much to that. Oh, he said, well, I know there's exception to cases, but I can just about shake your hand, tell you how spiritual you are, and how close you are to God. He said, now wait a minute now. You may see that. Did you ever, what kind of work have you done most of your life, Paul?
Cable work, installation of cable work.
What did he say?
Cable work, installation.
Installing cable.
Now, if you hired me and I'm going to go to work for you tomorrow, I'd be worthless to you, wouldn't I?
Pretty much.
Yeah, I would. I mean, I would know what to do, how to even begin. But if I did this all of my life, then I'd have a knowledge of where to go and what to do. And if I was a tool and die man, And that's all I've ever done all my life. I know how to read a mic, and I know how to do all that kind of, well, I would not read a mic. I don't even care about it. But my mind, doing this all of my life, is all I know. But I do know what I do know. I do understand what I'm doing, absolutely know what I'm doing. And I can't tell it. See, I said something about Virginia Powell, and I love her. You understand, though, I love her. She's dead and gone, but I love her, and I loved her precious husband. The canopy out there was named and under Richard Powell. He was a deacon in our church. He was one of our ushers and greeters, and just a fine man. You couldn't find a finer man in all the world. But on the overall, the whole program, everything was. They never got involved. They just got to the back row of the church. That's what other parts are like. And you can't understand that. But I'm talking to people who are interested in the Lord's work. Get involved and stay involved. Don't backslide. And the next verse is, the backslider in heart shall be filled with his own ways, and a good man shall be satisfied from himself. I don't think I'll get involved with that for tonight. I think I'll quit right here. But I have a lot to say about backsliders. And one of the biggest things that I have, one of the greatest fears that I have, is that I could and would backslide on God. What a terrible tragedy it would be to backslide on God. And yet that's possible. Let me ask you before we go, this is my little quiz, and I do it every time. What did